Welcome back to Backroomconvos. I'm your host with the most, Lesego M, Daddy Report, aka Future Short, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. The song of the day is by Lady Do. I don't know if you guys know Lady Do. Lady Do is from Oslo, and the name of the song that is the song of the day is China by Lady Do featuring Mega Drums. The song was an extension of an album that was released in 2023 called For Your Soul in Megatron's album, but it is a feature of Lady Do. So currently the song sits at 3.9 million in Spotify alone. The song is 5 minutes 19 seconds long. I know, guys, there's a lot to talk about today, but firstly, before I get on to anything, I'd like to really apologize to you guys. I know I didn't release an episode on Monday. I didn't release an episode on Tuesday. But we are here. We are here today. And there's a lot of things that have been on my, on my timeline or within my sphere that I was like, oh, this is very interesting to talk about. And I did mention to you guys that I was going to church as well after a very long time. It was very nice, a bit fatigued, but I'll get through it. Didn't sleep for about 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. Didn't sleep at all. I didn't sleep. So, but nonetheless, I did enjoy, being at church, interacting with people, reinforcing on my spirituality. I got to engage and I got back, and just the change of scenery, because when you are me, I think with I don't want to give out a lot, but I don't really go out a lot. I don't go out at all. Let me just not say much. I don't go out at all. So I'm always indoors. If we are not recording, I'm always indoors. Like I don't really have a social life to say, you know what I mean? So a change of scenery does, give me a fresh breath of like my look into things, how I approach certain things, and like I tend to be in touch with like reality again, and I'm like, oh, I've been so cooked in with everything that I'm doing. I'm doing the podcast, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like I don't really make time for any other things besides the podcast and every other business that I do. So just to do that, just to be free, not think about everything or anything, that for me was amazing. It was amazing, and I got to do that with the people that I love, people that I haven't seen in a minute, and some of the people that got blocked, I blocked someone, and because of a reason, there's a reason that I blocked that person, but I got to meet that person and we straightened things out. We spoke about it, we're chatting, and we passed that now, we're good. So yeah, that happened. But other than that, man, I want us to talk about Leave the World Behind, which is a movie. There's a lot of hype behind it. I don't know if it's because Barack Obama and Michelle Obama are part of the executive producers for that film. I don't know if that's the case, or if it's the content that the show is giving the viewers. So the show was released in 2023, the hype, and I think there was a time when someone on TikTok was saying there will be a movie coming out, which is, by the way, co-produced or executive produced by Michelle and Barack Obama. Maybe that's why there's so much hype behind it. Obviously, Julia Roberts is a big star who also plays Amanda in the show, and there's Ethan who plays Clay. There's Mashallah Ali, who's George G. My girl is an amazing actor. There's Ruth Washington, who's Myla on the show, and there's Kevin Bacon, who's Denny. There's Charlie Evans, who's Archie in the show. So those are the few people that were part of this cast. I know the movie is rated. It was released on the 22nd November 2023, and from then it had a lot of people behind it. So the movie, there's a lot of, hype behind it after that when it came out, and, Barack Obama being a part of that, and Sam Ismail is the director of the movie. So it's on Netflix for those of you who want to watch it. So the movie is based on a book by Rama Alam, who is also Islamic. So there's a lot of theories surrounding this movie. So firstly, the reason I want to talk about this movie, I'll get to it, which is in line with like the compound that Mark Zuckerberg bought in Hawaii. So I'll get to that story later on. So I saw the story of Mark Zuckerberg, I saw the movie, and I was like, oh, well, this is dope. A lot of people are talking about this. There's a lot of hype behind this. Let me just give my time off. Just look at the movie. The movie is 2 hours, 21 minutes long. So I did watch the movie. Very interesting movie. A lot of the things that are being said in the movie, the scene, there's just a lot. It just has a lot of questions behind it. It requires you to think outside the box, because there's just a lot of like the subliminal messages that are being portrayed in the movie. And one of the things that I found to be shocking is that after that movie came out on the 26th, or is it the 26th of November? Yes, it's the 22nd of November. I'm so sorry about that. The 22nd of November, after the movie came out, Elon Musk or like Tesla, they rejected all the autopilot vehicles to come back. Everybody that owns a Tesla that is an autopilot from I think 2010 to 2023, they're asking for them to bring them back. This is Elon. For those of you who don't know. Elon is the CEO of Tesla, the owner of Tesla, the founder of Tesla, for those of you who didn't know. They retracted those cars. I don't know if it's because they saw the movie and they were like, oh, this is a possibility. So we need to pull back and, go back to the drawing board and maybe tweak some of these things and put the cars back into the market or compensate the people who bought those cars, So they were asking those cars back. I was like, well, there's so much hype that even Elon is retracting the production of those cars to come back to the factory so they can fix, and I'm like, well, this is an eyebrow, and that alone fed the hype as well, in my opinion. It also fed the hype. It is like, why Elon is retracting all those cars, Tesla cars, after hearing that, or after seeing the movie, or after the movie came out. I don't know if Elon really watched the movie, but if he did, or if people told him, like, this is being portrayed, and like, don't they need approval to have Tesla in the movie? Because that's someone's brand. That's someone's brand, unless if Elon was a part of it from the start, to say, okay, Elon, this is what's going on. We want Teslas to be a part of. And on top of that, you can do whatever after that, you can do whatever. And when I say whatever, I mean, okay, you can retract the cars so you can fix the mistake and we'll use the plot twist or whatever that's being said, the storyline of the movie, as, to build the hype more and hopefully make something out of that as well. I think maybe Tesla might be making something out of that because of the Tesla scene. For those of you who haven't seen it, there's a Tesla scene that's shocking, like, I don't want to give out spoiler alerts or talk about the movie because I think it's an interesting movie, even though people are saying the ending is pop, and I also thought the ending is pop until I heard someone's doing on TikTok and they were like, Julia Roberts and who's that guy from Friends who passed on, and they were dating, and that guy passed on, the guy from Friends passed on Julia Roberts' birthday, and there's a link between that. It's an end of a chapter and the beginning of a chapter for some. They were saying that, and I was like, oh, this is interesting, but there's no facts to support it. So there'll always be those conspiracy theories surrounding these things, and I thought it was one of those things that I need to highlight when I was talking about this movie and the hype behind it. and if it's worthy to be watched. And I think it's worthy to be watched because there's just a lot. There's a scene whereby, a scene, like a three-phase scene where like Julia Roberts is sleeping, who is Amanda on the movie, is next to the bed, and there's waves at the, like there's a portrait like behind as a base of the bed. There's a portrait behind, or there's a where I don't know if the base or where the headboard is, the bed headboard is. So there's no headboard, but there's a portrait, as opposed to having there's a portrait. So at first there's that, calm waters, calm, and ocean is calm on the first scene. The second scene, the water is semi wild, and on the last scene, the water is wild. And I'm like, this is not by mistake that this is happening, this is not by mistake. And I'm like, oh, I didn't see this. And I started seeing paintings. Someone was speaking about, the art that was being designed, some of the art and how they were changing. And, it's really interesting. That book is really interesting. And shout out to the people, like, man, they truly, I think I haven't read the book, but I feel like they represented the book, regardless of what people are saying about the last scene, the girl watching the TV, Friends, the last episodes, on how that guy and the Rachel or something on Friends ended up, so that I'm like, well, look, the ending is bad. The movie is average, but it's not average. It's average to an average eye. It's average to an average eye, if I could say that. It's average to an average eye. But if you're someone who pays attention to details, who looking into stories, and you get into detail and you see certain things, and it becomes interesting in that sense, you know what I mean? And all the actors that were part of the movie, they killed it. So yeah, that's one thing I wanted to talk about on today's episode. And I felt, this is interesting that all this is happening, and people are saying this marks the end of the world, the waters, there's just a lot, racism. There's a poster on the movie even that was saying I'm so sorry for the fellow with, that was saying that to America. But the Americans, when they represent the story in TikTok, which is, TikTok is all over the world, besides North Korea, but they represent it as the problem of the world and not the problem of the West, and I'm like, no, the movie, it represents an idea of what the West has been doing to the world, and the world is turning, boom, boom, boom. It might be happening to the world in the near future, or it might just be happening to America because, America has been bad. It has a lot of enemies all around the world. So it might be that, it might be the world, nobody knows. Unless if the book says something about, the rest of the world or the world in general. And I don't even know, how do they even script these movies? What scenes do they take? What do they take from the book? What don't they take from the book, And I think if someone watched the movie and they read the book, they have a clear understanding of what's going on. And I don't have that understanding because I haven't read the book. I only watched the movie, I think it would make more sense, or I'd have more clarity of what the movie is when I read the book, and I'm like, oh, this meant this, this meant that, this meant that, make much more sense in that sense, So I didn't say which category this movie falls under. So this movie is on Netflix. So it's a trailer drama, 2 hour 21 minutes, very nice. So this is how it ranked on Rotten Potatoes. On Rotten Potatoes, it's ranking 76%, which is above average. It's a nice movie. So on Google users ranked it 51% like this movie. Okay, so it's above average, it's above 50%. So good movie. And on Metacritic, I think it's also a website which ranks movies. They the movie 67%. I'm so sorry for that. They ranked it 67% on Metacritic. So generally, I think it's safe to say this is a nice movie, So I'll just read in a short description of the movie. It's a family vacation on Long Island is interrupted by two strangers bearing news of a breakout. As the threat grows, both families must decide what's the best way to survive the potential crisis. All these gaping with their own place in this. I'm so sorry guys, because I'm reading this thing. All while graping with their own place in this collapsing world. It's the last. So it's a family vacation on Long Island, which is interrupted by two strangers bearing news of an outbreak from the city. As this movie goes, both families must decide how best to survive the potential crisis, all while graping with their own place in this collapsing world. That's what I meant to say. The song of the day, for those of you who just joined us, the song of the day is Gina, which is a song by Mega Drums featuring Lady Do, which is a part of the project called For Your Soul. It's an extended edition of that album. It was released 2023. The song is 5 minutes 19 seconds long. Currently sits at 3.9 million on Spotify. Good song, and I see there's a lot of trends behind this song. So yeah. So for those of you who just joined us, I'm your host with the most, Lesego M, Daddy Waddy Pod, aka Future Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. Let's meet after the break. Cheers. Welcome back to Backroom Convos. I'm your host at the most, Lesego M, Daddy Waddy Pod, aka Shoot Your Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. Listen, if you're a fan of pods, stay tuned because you might like what we are cooking. Please do not forget to follow, like, and subscribe, or rate the show to get a notification for each and every time we drop a new episode. Before we went on at a break, we were talking about a movie that was released 2023, which featured the likes of Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as executive producers, and there's a lot of hype behind it. The name of the movie is Leave the World Behind, which was released on the 22nd of November 2023, which features Julia Roberts, Ethan Hawke. For those of you who know those two names, those are like big names, So the movie was released 2023 on Netflix. I was talking about it, and I want us to talk about, because I said Mark Zuckerberg. If you all remember, for those of you who just joined us, I said the intro to me talking about the movie, it's because I saw the compound that Mark Zuckerberg bought, and he was building something one day. I was like, oh, people were saying, what does Mark know that people don't know? Why is it secretive? Why is this being built? A, B, and C. That was the chat on TikTok. So I was like, okay, I'm going to watch that movie to see what people are seeing, or to see what people are not seeing, or make my own judgment based on what I see and what Elon is building. I was like, okay. I went on to watch the movie yesterday, and I felt good to the movie. It's fine, it's good, it's nice. I watched it, and there were scenes that I spoke about in the first segment. If you didn't get that, please rewind to 15 minutes before this moment. That's when I was talking about the first segment. On the first segment, I was talking about the waters and everything that was going on the movie, but I won't get into it now, because now we are talking about Mark Zuckerberg. So Mark Zuckerberg, for those of you who don't know, he bought a compound in Hawaii, which is estimated to be $170 million. It's not rent, $1 million. And on top of that, what is raising a lot of eyebrows as well is that he bought that, and at the same time, after buying that, he built a 5 meter story. He built a 6 meter long wall so people won't see. 6 foot. They said 6 foot. I'm so sorry. They said he built a 6 foot wall. The compound has security all around. It's being monitored day and night. Nobody can come in and out. And people were saying, why is Mark doing this? What does he know that we don't know? You know what I mean? And I was like, well, let me just go, because someone made a comment to say, you all should watch the movie Leave the World Behind. You'll understand why he built that. And as the TikToker progressed, or the news progressed, we found out now Mark is making renovations to the place that cost something like 270 million, which is estimated to be 270 million, which is the most expensive private project built in the world, which has, underground bunkers, a lifestyle, like when they just go out, there's underground bunker, there's TVs, there's living rooms, there's boom. So there's that. He built that, Mark Zuckerberg. So that's why people are curious. Why is Mark doing that? And he's not telling anyone, he's not talking to anyone. What does he know that people don't know? Why there's a lot of security around that? There's just a lot of things that people were unclear. Like maybe it's that movie Leave the World Behind. If you can watch it, maybe you'll find the similarities. Maybe Mark knows that. I'm so sorry, I'm yawning. So maybe Mark knows that something similar to what Leave the World Behind is talking about is coming, and he's just preparing himself well enough. He's just equipping himself with necessary tools, to survive that entire phase. And how many people who know, or how many people besides Mark are like going through a phase where they buy everything, they preparing everything? You know what I mean? Like, how many people are preparing for that? And is it because of information being kept from the majority? And I think if there's anything that Mark knows, the public should know, so we can prepare as a whole. Like the same thing that happened in Iceland, where the volcano erupted, and there hasn't been like any reported deaths because people prepared well enough for that event. And I'm like, if there's anything that happens, we should be well prepared as a whole, as a family, as a race, as a society. We should prepare ourselves together. That's my point. My point is to prepare ourselves together. But if people like Mark Zuckerberg are not sharing the knowledge that they have, and they're building the most expensive private projects ever just for fun, it doesn't make any sense. There's clearly something they know that we don't. And I'm like, well, it's some things are just said because money gives you access to certain things, and it doesn't give certain people access to certain things. And you might find that the majority might be another collateral damage in this society that's filled with capitalists, or a system that is capitalistic. Everybody is trying to get a dollar, and everybody who has a dollar has access to a certain level of information. And whenever you're a billionaire, you're exposed to such and such, and you're able to prepare yourself, your family, and people around you, so you don't get exposed, or you don't get exposure to say, So it's so sad if that's true and they're not communicating it, and we are just being exploited. I mean, people like Mark Zuckerberg, they own Twitter, they own Twitter, does he own Twitter? No, he doesn't own Twitter. He owns Facebook, he owns WhatsApp. Those are like platforms where you use to communicate. And if there's anything or anyone who has the power to convince or to help assist the human race for the event that is coming, if it's coming, he has that platform, unless if he has something to gain from, us or the majority of people who are going to be petrified or die. He's going to make a lot if people die. I don't know, so which at some point, as the ending of that movie, Leaving the World Behind, the kid was watching that, and he saw the end of a phase and he saw the beginning of the phase. That might be another approaches to how you look at this thing. You know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. But kudos, man. Shout out to him and how he spends his money. And I don't have much to say. But I want to talk about the Iceland. I did touch on the Iceland thing, which Iceland had an earthquake. I almost said earthquake. It had a volcano eruption. So it was anticipated that an eruption is going to occur. But the most beautiful part of this is that no person died, no people didn't die in that event, because there was preparations that were being made for that moment. And when it came, people just knew what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. They were well equipped, they were skilled enough to know, this is how we tackle this situation, because they've anticipated it for the longest of time. Maybe that's why that is happening. And I'm like, well, kudos to them, man. And I also wanted to talk about another project that has the internet talking, which is the Saudi Arabia, the Line building. Saudi Arabia is building a city called the Line City, which is, for those of you who don't know what the Line City is, so the Line City is a city where it's built in, it's a line, it's a line city. So everything it's in a line, and the purpose of the city is it's designed to protect and enhance nature, the water, everything, and working distance to cover that, so you can be within your working or the zone that you're working in. So it's closer for you to go from your apartment to the place that you work in. It's a line city, and it's meant to also help eradicate air pollution or any kind of pollution because of the transport system that's meant to be implemented as part of that. And I don't know how huge or how small it is, but by the look of things, you can tell it's a huge project, which I think, in my opinion, to have that, they were saying it's a city that at some point you're going to use a transport that will get you at the other end of from one end to the next end. It will take you something like 6 minutes. I don't know how true that is, but the project is meant to exist from 2030. It's a 2030 project. I don't know if 2030 is the start of that project, or 2030 it's the finished date or day of that project. So, but talking about this project, I'm like, these Saudi guys have a lot of money. You look at Dubai, it's Saudi guys, and they're improving the economy. They are part of BRICS, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing, And I didn't say this, and I almost forgot to see the height of this entire line city is 5 meters from the ground up. It's 5 meters. There's a 5 meter, length, to the building. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about, man. There's like those Saudis guys where you're really pouring into the economy, building their country, building their state, and at some point, I think, in my opinion, they will be the richest place in Africa. Saudi Arabia will be the richest. It is now the richest, a part of the richest countries in Africa, but there'll be a point where they become the richest country in the world, given that those people have a lot of money. Those people have like trillions, they have trillions. And someone was talking on this, and I was like, yeah, it's possible that these guys are making a lot of money. They have a lot of money because how they spend, bro, they spend money like it's nothing. You know what I mean? They spend money like it's nothing. And projects like these are projects where they build their home. They build the market, the economy, and at the same time they win because they are protecting the nature, the place, the platform, And I'm like, I'm down for it. And they even made an example with the New York City. They even made a line city for New York, and they showed how it would look in New York. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. If New York was to build these things like this, it would save space, it would save money, resources would be saved. Basically, that's what I'm saying to you guys. That's all I had for the day. That's all I had for the day. these topics are very interesting, and I really enjoyed talking to you guys after a long time. And I still do apologize even now for not releasing the episodes on the past 2 days. But as I said, I was very tired. I had no sleep in about 2 days, and I was like, heavy dancing and choreography at church, and that happened. And I'm sure a lot of you who are listening to the podcast now, they can actually tell that my voice is a bit off. This is not really my everyday Lesego voice. You can tell there's a bit of katala fatigue behind it, and there is, and I've been working. Even this morning I've been working, there's no time to sleep, guys. We have to get to the bag, and I've been working, and I came back to write the podcast, to prepare the podcast, and now it's prepared. And I'm grateful that you had to stay with me for the past 30 minutes talking about these things. And I was not interesting. Even I was like yawning at some point. But it's important things to know in this industry. There's words that you learn, there's people that you see, there's you learn a lot of things in this process, and I'm very grateful for it, you know what I mean? So yeah, for those of you who just joined us, I'm your host, Lesego M, Report, aka Shoot Your Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy, like Cairo. The song of the day is Gina, featuring Mega Drum and Lady Drew. The song is in the album For Your Soul, which is an extended edition which was released on 2023. The song is 5 minutes 19 seconds long and currently sits at 3.9 listeners on Spotify. Those are good numbers, you know what I mean? At some point 32 was flirting with AKA, but it is what it is. We won't talk about that today. So the book of the day, for those of you who are waiting for this, it's still Oprah Winfrey, by the way. Oprah has a lot of books, guys. He has a lot of books. He's collaborated with people, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing, This is amazing. So we'll get to talk about some of those books now. So the book of the day is Finding Purpose in Your Pain, Treating Depression Naturally. I'll repeat the name of the book: Finding Purpose in Your Pain, Treating Depression Naturally. I could read the smallanyana intro for these books talk about, but sometimes they don't make sense, and I end up why did I read that out? Because it really doesn't make sense. It wants me to read the entire thing. So the book was originally published on the 7th of August 2023 by Oprah Winfrey and Moses Omojola. I think this is the second book. I think the actor or TV presenter has worked with this author, or worked with any other author for that matter. He's working with a lot of people, and and I know for sure there's a lot of things that are being said about him. It's just that I don't know if some of them are true, but shout out to her. And yeah, I want to read out something again. Where's the thing? I want to read out something, but the book has no ratings, so I don't know if it's a nice book, if it's not a note book, if it's not a good book. I wouldn't know because there's no ratings. So I take it people didn't get the opportunity to read it. Plus, but please do go and read it and let me know what you think on the comment section. I'm your host with the most, Lesego M, Report. Be with me now and forevermore. Really enjoyed this day. Have a lovely day, guys. Cheers.